Now, another suggestion I have is take on a specialty. I think that a lot of this just simple functional testing really does need to go away. It's a crutch. Let's stop doing it. Stop making it easy for developers to write crappy code. Make it hard for developers to write crappy code. You thin out the bug herd. But in the late 90s, I found the value of this specialty thing. In the late 90s, I started finding Y2K bugs. They pay well. Let me say that. Right? At the end of from 1996 to right up to the year 2000, you were getting paid literally thousands of dollars per bug. If you could find a date math bug in some important software, you could charge thousands and thousands of dollars for a single bug. So we started focusing on this, me and my students. I was a professor at the time. And we wrote test automation that would just parse source code, look for date math operations, and then find an input path that would take you there. This is all automatic. We were finding thousands and thousands and thousands of bugs with automation. They were all legitimate Y2K bugs because it's date math, and there's an input path that will allow it, and the input is unrestricted, right? There's not enough error checking code around the input. That's the definition of a Y2K bug. And since we had it automation, we didn't have to charge thousands. We charged hundreds per bugs. One of my students bought a brand new Corvette, and with the profits, and people were really, all the other professors were really pissed off that my students were making more money than they were. Specialties pay well. And then after January 1st came around, we're all sitting around at the lunchroom, we're saying, okay, so this profitable business that we've all been in is gone. What do we do now? And that's why we got into security, because we realized security bugs pay better than functional bugs. I think the next great specialty is going to be privacy bugs. And the person that figures out privacy testing is going to be a very, very wealthy person, or the consultancy or whatever, whoever figures out privacy testing, how to do it, how to track data as it leaves trust boundaries, how to build automation that can follow personal information and raise alarm. It's not hard. And the person that figures it out is going to make a lot of money because specialties pay. Stop doing functional testing. It doesn't pay. And it's not necessary. This does. So these are my suggestions. So what I did was I chose one of these. I chose the development path. And now I'm in Google+, and I am not employing any testers. We joined this team in late June. The first ship date was in August. And by the way, my boss had no idea that I just brought a bunch of testers along and was pretending them. I had them all change their public title in our internal HR system to software engineer, because most of it was software engineer and test or test engineer. I'm like, all right, guys, we're going to lie here. Oh, man, this is being filmed. Oh, it's too late now, isn't it? We're going to lie here. Everybody change your title to developer so that no one knows. We're going to take over this development project, and we're going to do this experiment. We're not going to test it. We're going to treat testing as a feature. So we're not going to have any testers. Everybody's going to be a tester. Everybody's going to be a developer. And the process I described, we did it. We shipped in August, and now we're shipping every 2 weeks, new APIs, plus the old ones that we're shipping updates to about 2.5 weeks or so, every 12 or so business days. We ship new builds of this software. 0 testers. And yes, we're writing bugs. I'd love to say, oh, we write fewer bugs than other developers, but we don't. Testers write bugs at the same capacity as developers, it turns out. But none of our bugs survive long because we have testing as a feature. The infrastructure is there. Once we find a bug, the infrastructure is there to never, ever see that regression again. What does this do to testing? That's the real question. And I don't know the answer. I think functional testing as a discipline is in decline. And I think it should be in decline. I believe that those easy bugs don't need to be found by people we hire and pay salaries, high salaries to. They're pointing out the obvious. We know we have bugs. A better process is to have dog fooders that you manage carefully and trusted testers that you manage carefully, perhaps crowdsourcers that you manage carefully. The value is in managing all that testing that gets done, not in doing the testing. And I believe that to be the future of testing. And I think this crowdsourcing phenomenon is incredibly interesting. Google uses it extensively, and it really is taking center stage. There are people in the crowd that are beginning to distinguish themselves as testers. And they're not working for one company, they're working for all the companies. And we're beginning to see it. We hire crowdsourcing and 2 or 3 people stand out, and then next time we hire crowdsourcing, we say, all right, we want crowd, but we want those 3 people too. They're really good. All right, so perhaps there is a future for functional testers, not as part of a company, but as part of the crowd. I'm waiting for the day when people in the crowd stand up and say, you know what, I just made $250,000 this year being a crowdsourced tester. And I believe that that day is coming, that people will make themselves rich being functional testers for everyone, not for one company.